Hello and welcome back to the Film Club, the club where we talk about films that we're recently watching, viewing and enjoying them, and know what you've been recently watching and enjoying, and if you see what I'm about to talk about, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. I had never heard of It's What's Inside, I didn't see a trailer for it, I didn't know what it was about, I didn't even know that this film was being released or it was a concept, and so when I saw some hype around it on TikTok, people saying it was the most interesting film they'd seen in a long time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to watch it. It sounded really interesting, it sounded really cool. It got described to me as a combination between sort of Knives Out and Saltburn and messed up in a whole different entire way. And this film is brilliant. It lives up to the hype that everyone is talking about it. It is so good. So if you don't know what it is, It's What's Inside is essentially this group of sort of, I was going to say teenagers, but they're not teenagers, they're sort of in their 20s, and they're getting together to celebrate their friend's wedding that's going the next day. And when they get there, this guy who they used to know, who they fell out with and haven't seen for years, comes, and he's worked at a tech company for years and years, and he has this machine that can switch your consciousness so that you go into someone else's body and someone else goes into yours. So what they do is essentially start to play like almost like a Cluedo of, okay, let's all switch bodies and see who can guess who's who. And it's brilliant because every single person, when you start watching the film, it feels a little bit tropey. The characters feel a little bit over the top and cringy in some aspects. There's like the hippie girl, there's the gangster guy, and at first glance, it's a little bit like, is this bad writing? But then it makes sense because as you get into it, you're like, you're playing the game too. You're like, wait, so he's him and she's her, and everyone's switched around, and you can tell from their traits. So it's brilliant. It works so well. But they start to play it, and very quickly, from the get-go, before they even get to the game, there's already issues with the main couple of the story. They are just having issues just sexually and just together, really, to be honest. And so that gets explored, but every single person is flawed in their own individual ways, and it bleeds into it. There's this whole question of if you're, in someone else's body and you kiss someone else, is that cheating? And then they sort of think it's acceptable, and then they do it, and then things twist and turn, and then it gets messed up. It goes incredibly wrong, but the thing going incredibly wrong isn't what is crazy about it, because when that happens, you're like, oh my god, that's mental. Then it all goes wrong, everyone's panicking, but the twist is fantastic. Like, the twist of it, it's not something that I was like, huh? But I was watching it going, that's brilliant. Like, it puts a whole new perspective on the film, the fact of when you know the twist. And I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to spoil it, but it does what Saltburn did for that twist, and Knives Out for that twist. It is brilliant. I love films like this. Where this film differentiates, I think, though, from those two other films is the brilliant way it's made. The filming and editing of this is the most creative thing I've seen in a quick minute. Like, it is so interesting. Like, the flashbacks are told in like a picture-telling story, but it's told in a way where it's like flicking through different things, and it's like Photoshop generated, even though it's not, and it's properly made, but it gives that vibe, and it's just like, it's so cool. And there's one shot in particular from the beginning that as soon as I saw it, I knew I was going to like the film. It was on two characters in a car, and then a bar goes in the centre of the screen, and the camera turns to the other guy. So you've got these two perspectives of these two people in a car, but it's so interesting because you see their perspectives rather than just as a whole. It's so well done, and they very clearly, I don't know if they do take inspiration, but for me personally, there is a lot of Edgar Wright in the editing. When they're fastening the seatbelt or getting a drink, it's like very quick, and if you know Edgar Wright's style from the Cornetto trilogy or any other films, Baby Driver and stuff like that, you will recognise it, I think, anyway. But yeah, it just makes for a brilliant film. The music, the aesthetic, the colours, The acting's brilliant, the story's great, and just like I say, overall, this is a solid film. It genuinely deserves a whole lot more attention than it's getting, because I don't actually feel like it's got hype in the film community, but I don't feel like it's pushed outside of that. And it really deserves to, because it's a great film, it's an interesting film, and it's one of the most interesting ones Netflix has done in a while. Netflix drops a whole load of films, and you don't often get many that pique your interest. But this absolutely piqued my interest. So I'll be interested to see what you lot think about it in the comments below, but I will see you next time on the Film Club.